Strap in and be prepared.
Maybe I'll learn from your failures.
That is what you could do.
Yeah.
Interesting guests.
Kelly Graves, Mike Parker, Josh Pate, George Reiser, Ryan Lee, Yogi Roth, who said that Justin and I are smart.
Sharp opinions.
I think Dan Lanning sitting in his office going, you know what, fine, give us the toughest road to win the national championship. That's what it should be.
Oregon State in their baseball program is still operating from a position of strength, even if they're independent. But here they are in the College World Series.
And some smiles.
It's iconic.
We're not keeping score, but maybe we're keeping score.
The fastest 60 minutes in sports is on the air. It's Danny Havel.
When I wake up every morning, I say to myself, what can I do to make Baby J's life better today?
Justin Grossweiner.
Have I ever told you, Danny, that growing up I really loved ducks?
Danny and Justin starts now on Fox Sports Eugene and Newport.
Hello, neighbors, and welcome high atop the Delta Tri in the Crystal Palace. From the Bigfoot Beverages Studios in Eugene and Newport, this is the fastest 60 minutes in sports talk. This is the Danny and Justin radio program for a Monday. Thanks for tuning in wherever and however. If you're here in the Willamette Valley at 102.9 or 1050 AM or on the coast in Newport at 92.7 FM. Thanks for tuning in to our little fun and frivolity that we call the fastest 60 minutes in sports. Danny and Justin also on YouTube. Danny and Justin also wherever you pod. Just type in Danny and Justin. Also on Twitter and Blue Sky. Danny and Justin. We make it easy for you. We don't switch it up between platforms. Danny and Justin spell out the and in between our names. I'm Danny Halbel. Right over there is my tag team partner, Justin Grossweiner. We call him Baby J. What a boy!
Is it just me? Or
Yep, probably
today
is. Yep,
the first
probably is.
hints of fall that I got looking around? I was like, oh, there's a lot of yellow around.
It got cooler. It rained this weekend. So it rained in
We
Portland.
just went from 100 last week to now it feels like fall a little bit.
Well, we're going to get it back into the 80s again later on this week.
It's late summer, you know.
Well, it should be. Because the calendar, we
Of
we
course.
talked about this last week as well. I mean, really, fall doesn't start until
September 22nd?
I think that's what you said. Because I was
Look
talking
at
about that,
us.
and then you were just like...
You learn something every day on this show.
We try
you
to.
learn what fall is.
Entertain and inform, friends. Hope you had all a great weekend. I know we did. You got to go up see Mom. You know, see Mama Kay up in Portland. We hung out with some friends on the deck, actually, even just last night, having a little barbecue on the patio. I got to go out and play a little golf. Saturday was kind of a meh day for me. I had all kinds of plans, although I did take Mom and Abby up to Laurelwood for brunch, which was spectacular.
Very nice.
Yet again.
Did the pickle situation get figured out?
It did. So I took the pickles up on Friday night, and the staff tried them up there, and then Chef Aaron tried them on Saturday and asked for the pickle recipe from my wife.
This is a different pickle situation. I was talking about the Abby pickle situation.
The Abby pickle situation.
Where she did not or did get pickles when she was not or was supposed to.
Oh, yeah, that got resolved.
That's what I was talking about. But apparently there's another one.
Well, we have to be more specific. We have a lot of pickle things going on, apparently. No, she did. Oh, believe me. Everybody up there, I mean.
I heard about that.
Well, I'm sure you did, because she doesn't have any problem talking about it.
No.
But so the whole story was she got a burger one night when we did our Thursday show, and then I normally grab dinner because that's Deb's pottery night, so it's just Abby and I. And so I'll grab dinner for both of us as I'm heading down the hill from Laurelwood to go back home. And she ordered the burger. First time she ordered a burger, and she said, Dad, make sure you get extra pickles, because my daughter likes a hamburger dry. No lettuce, no tomato, none of that. In fact, don't even put ketchup on it. Just cheese. If she's going to do anything, she'll put bacon on it, and then pickles. She loves pickles. And they didn't put any pickles on the first time. And it was, Ross heard about it. Taryn heard about it.
I heard about it.
You heard about it. And so when she was up there, she took the opportunity with Putts and Pups, or Putts for Pups.
Yeah. I said it wrong
last Thursday. That she wanted to make sure that everyone knew as well. Aaron knew and Ross knew. And actually everyone already knew, because I already told them. They apologized. And she got extra pickles. And she has been getting extra pickles.
The wrath of producer Abby.
Man, she knows what she likes.
Yeah.
She knows what she
That's
wants.
good.
There's no problem with that. She's a strong young woman.
I don't think I knew what I wanted at that age.
So, well, you could probably take a few hints from her.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we took my wife's homemade pickles, which I think
I have had.
them?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Very nice.
So she took those. I took them up there, and Aaron wants the recipe now. So I think you might be tasting Deb's homemade pickle recipe up at the Laurelwood.
Very good.
Here pretty soon. By the way, Aaron's got a nice surprise for us. I don't think it's going to be this week. It's going to be next week. I think our last regular Thursday show at Laurelwood. He sent me a picture. I'll show it to you after the show, or maybe during the break, about something he's going to do with us because he's going to. We haven't had the chef on the show yet.
Yeah.
So we're going to have him on the show later on this week, or next week, I think. And maybe it's going to be next week. And he's a huge Oregon guy, so he's got something he's going to wear for the show, which is going to be a whole lot better for the YouTube part of it than the radio part of it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Always is.
Yeah. So I'm glad you had a good weekend. So did I.
Yeah. No, it was good.
Week.
It was my last 2-day weekend that I'll have for a while just because of football season coming up and all that, which is very exciting. But I decided to take the opportunity. I saw some friends. I saw Lavender, of course, who I've talked about in this program very many times. So that was always good. I can always call my mom. I can always talk to my mom on the phone. But seeing Lavender,
can't call the cat.
You can't call the cat. So
well, you could, but I don't know if there's much reaction.
Yeah,
there'd
exactly.
be.
It's not the same.
The Danny Justin radio program here for a Monday. Thanks for hanging out, folks, live from the Bigfoot Beverages studios in Eugene and Newport. Coming up a little bit later on the program, it'll be the voice of Penn State football, well, and other sports as well. Steve Jones is going to join us on the program, and Steve's long time. He's entering, I think, is his 30th year at Penn State. So the next week, next 2 weeks, we're going to preview heavy the first 4 games for both Oregon State and Oregon, their first 4 opponents. I mean, we could have done, the whole, hey, let's talk about Minnesota at the beginning of August, but it's going to go in and out your ear, honest. And what do you really know about the programs until you start getting to this point? The last 2 weeks before teams really start going, and actually we have football this weekend, Justin. I know you know this. Iowa State and Kansas State are going to play in Dublin this weekend. There's some other, not marquee games, but there are going to be a couple of other games going on this weekend. So college football actually uncorks this weekend. But we really start getting into it hot and heavy next weekend, where Ohio State and Texas will tee it up. A lot of really good games on the weekend. Oregon takes on Montana State at home. Oregon State takes on Cal, which is really interesting because J-Ron, I think I'm saying this right, Kiwa Sagapulitele has just been named the starting quarterback at Cal. Okay. So he's going to be the starter, the freshman who was here at Oregon
had a cup
for
of coffee here.
half a second, and then went through, I think, spring drills or a few workouts, and was like,
he saw Novosad and Dante throw some balls, and decided
well,
he was
Achilles Smith Jr. said, "I'm not seeing the field for a little while." So I mean, good on him, and we're not killing the kid at all.
That's just the modern college football now.
But he got, and after Mendoza transferred out as well from Cal, he saw the opportunity. So Pulitelli is going to be the starter.
JKS.
So am I saying that right?
I think so.
Okay, because you
Chiave Sangapulitele.
Oh, Chiave. I missed the middle name.
Okay.
But yeah,
Jaron Chiave
Sangapulitele. Yeah,
close enough.
No, well, you got to say it right. So the young man's going to start. So it'll be interesting to see freshman, a true freshman, starting quarterback.
Mendoza is going to be one of the better transfer quarterbacks. But
he's going to start for Indiana.
They came out okay. They got a talented guy that was a riser in the process.
Just don't know what he's got around him. I've said this already.
Very true. That's
backfield,
very true.
Don't know. I mean, their backfield, Ott transferred. I just don't know what he's got around him. But we'll see. I mean, and for Oregon State, this might be a great way for their defense to come shine. They can rattle a young freshman quarterback. Of course, I don't know how many old freshmen. I've always loved that. Say young freshman quarterback. It's like, how many old freshman quarterback do you really have?
It's like saying the same word twice almost. I mean, I was
like
an old freshman.
Like an experienced
veteran. You could be an old freshman. You could be somebody that, you can have an older freshman, right? Because if you take a mission trip or something like that.
Okay, so 22 years old as a freshman.
So Gatlin Bear, excuse me, from Idaho. He's I believe he was in the class of 2023 maybe for the Ducks, and he's going to be he's going to start for them or start playing for them next season. So he's taking a 2-year mission step. So is he a young freshman still, or is he
in relative
an older
terms?
freshman?
I mean, most freshmen come in and they're 18 years old.
Yeah, but he's to be like 20.
So I mean, is that really that old though?
No, but in comparison, when the entirety of a career is in general 18 to 22, then I would say starting at 20 is old.
Except for Cam McCormick, who played until he was 29 in college football.
Maybe not even in general. So maybe you could say 23, of course. I mean, there's plenty of players now that are getting a little bit of extra eligibility. That's something we've been tracking. So, yes, I mean, I think 18 to 20, it's still all kind of the same, especially when you're a little bit past that time,
So we took that little right turn, but my point being is that we're going to have Steve Jones on today, Penn State. Tomorrow, we'll have Dave Hunsaker, the voice of the Cowboys of Oklahoma State. Very entertaining guy and really, really good at what he does. They're all good. And then on Wednesday, we're going to have Brian Jensen, the voice of Texas Tech. So we're going to do Oregon, and then we're going to do Oregon State because Texas Tech, I think, is the fourth game for the Beavers. So we're going to try and encapsulate here in the next couple of weeks the first 4 weeks of both Oregon and Oregon State for the opening of the football season. So we're going to get you all the way into the end of September for the most part from both teams. So we'll be efforting still somebody to talk about Northwestern, about Cal, about Houston. Of course, obviously, we're going to talk about Oregon State because they played the Civil War third week of September. So, what?
Is it called the Civil War anymore?
I'm calling it the Civil War.
What is it called? I always forget. Is that officially?
Here's the thing. Yeah, the PC way of saying it now is it's the rivalry game.
Sure.
That really has a lot of panache to it. I'm calling it the Civil War. You can tear that out of my dead, cold hands.
I'm with you.
I'm never going to not call it the Civil War. Am I wrong?
I think you're right. We don't have to go through the whole debate about the name right now, but I think you're right.
Not, please.
No, I don't want to
either.
either.
It's a Monday. I don't want to. Get exhausted already on a Monday. But you looked at me.
I was generally confused about whether it's called that still or not.
It is not. Officially, it's not.
Because it's unofficially, of course, still going to be called that. I think everybody still calls it
Mike Parker still calls it the Civil War. Exactly. So whatever Mike says, in terms of, I will go with that.
That's fair. That's very fair.
So, all right. So that's we're never going to get to news. No, it's fine. A lot of fun stuff to talk about. So let's get into news and notes, and we'll dive right in to Kiara Romero, awarded the Mark H. McCormick Medal as the world's leading female amateur golfer. Absolutely fantastic. And she just finished up competing up at Columbia Edgewater in the Portland Classic. She finished 7th there this past weekend. But this honor for the 19-year-old from San Jose, California, who's going to be a junior this year at the U of O, she receives an exemption to the 2026 U.S. Open presented by Ally at the Riviera Golf Club in 2026. Also at the Royal Lytham and St. Anne's Golf Club in the Women's Open over across the pond in England, provided she remains an amateur. That's the key on this. And she turns pro, which I don't think it's going to happen in this next year. But the McCormick Medal is quite an honor. She begins her third year at the U of O as a junior, has dominated at the collegiate level thus far, shattering program records. She was the first Duck ever to be named the National Freshman of the Year in 2023. And she still holds the record, the Oregon best single-season record with a 70.84 scoring average across 31 rounds of stroke play. So congratulations, Kiara Romero and the Ducks program. Beautiful.
So there's going to be another number 2 retired, Danny, in college football. You might remember Shedeur Sanders had his number retired. Akin to Shedeur Sanders, of course, Heisman Trophy winner from Auburn, Cam Newton, who is going to get his number 2 jersey retired.
That one I could buy a little bit more.
I'm just
won a
kidding.
national championship.
Taking a little poke at Shedeur Sanders in Colorado for getting that number retired. Of course, he won the Heisman Trophy in 2010 before leading the team to the national championship. Of course, Oregon fans will remember that. Yeah. The retirement ceremony is going to take place on October 11th against the rivalry game against Georgia, rivalry game there, Danny, at Jordan-Hare Stadium. And he will join fellow Heisman winners Pat Sullivan, number 7, Bo Jackson, number 34, and Terry Beasley, number 88, is the only Auburn players to have their numbers retired. By the way, Danny, you might not remember this. He only played 1 season at Auburn, has his number retired.
That's fantastic. But, of course, winning a national
totally
championship.
Deserved with a bunch of other Heisman Trophy winners who have had their numbers retired instead of a guy that was there for,
half a minute,
exactly.
2 seasons. Yeah,
didn't really do very much.
The Danny Justin radio program. A little bit later on in the show as well, we'll hear from Tosh Lupoi from the Oregon men's football program, the defensive coordinator. We'll talk a little bit about the line, about the safeties, and the outlook for the Oregon defense as we get closer and closer to kickoff on August the 30th. As we continue, Seattle Mariners outfielder Victor Robles kind of blew his lid a little bit. He was ejected from a minor league baseball game. He's down there in AAA Tacoma on a rehab assignment. He was hit by an inside pitch and tossed. Not tossed. That's really being kind. He hurled, he launched his bat at pitcher Joey Estes, who hit Robles on the first pitch in the third inning. Robles whacked at it to avoid getting hit, but he still did get hit. After taking a few steps behind the plate, he picked up his bat and hurled it in Estes' direction and immediately was ejected, no doubt. But here's the thing. The background on that is that he's been hit by a pitch 3 times in his previous 4 games with Tacoma, and he literally was just sick and tired of getting hit because he's trying to get back to the majors.
Yeah.
I mean, you take one on the hand when you're holding the bat, you 100%. Can fracture a bone in there, and you're done for another 3 or 4 weeks.
No, that does not feel very good. What did you say, 3 out of how many times?
3 in the previous 4 games. That's a lot.
3 in the previous 4 games is a lot. It's not going to be intentional, of course, especially probably not in the minor leagues.
Certainly hope not. He took umbrage. He can't use that word very much. I love that word.
That's a good word.
Thank you.
Matthew Stafford is practicing now for the first time in training camp. He had not been practicing until today. He's 37 years old. He'd been sidelined for an aggravated disc in his back, and other than throwing passes in a workout a couple weeks ago, he had not really played with the team. And so now he's progressing enough to where he has played. Sean McVay said, we'll keep it day-to-day, really a week-to-week time, and called it kind of a fluid situation. So they might have to look at starting someone else, especially that Week 1 game. So Matthew Stafford getting a little bit up there, dealing with some injury problems, still one of the best quarterbacks in the league when healthy. We'll see how he enters the season.
An announcement that comes from the University of Oregon Athletic Department. Voice of the Ducks and student-athletes from football and women's soccer have been selected to receive the University of Oregon Athletic Department's Distinguished Alumni Awards. Athletic Director Rob Mullins announced it today. Jerry Allen, a good friend who's been announcing games on the Oregon Sports Network since 1985, synonymous with the pick, of course, the Kenny Wheaton program-altering 1994 interception against Washington. Allen also won he is going to win the 2025 Order of the O honorarium. It's for someone who never lettered at the university, but has contributed long time and distinguished manner to the university. Offensive lineman Michael DeLagrange has been named the recipient of the 2025 Leo Harris Award. Soccer goalkeeper Sarah Peters has been chosen to receive the 2025 Becky L. Sisley Award. By the way, Allen and DeLagrange are both from Grants Pass, Oregon. Peters from Woodinville, Washington. There will be award ceremonies in conjunction with the November 22nd USC football game. So congratulations to Jerry Allen, Michael DeLagrange, and Sarah Peters.
Joe Flacco is going to open the season as the Cleveland Browns starting quarterback.
Shocking.
Announced Monday. No, it seems like it's all going according to plan for them, if you want to call it that. Flacco is in his 18th season. I cannot believe he is starting games. He is over 40 years old, and he's going to start their preseason finale against the Los Angeles Rams as well this Saturday. There is a competition between him, Flacco, Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. Of course, Deshaun Watson is on the injured reserve list as he recovers from Achilles surgery. And Gabriel may have been a little bit put behind the sticks by not playing in their first preseason game because of a hamstring injury. I think that he played really well overall. Know that there were some positive things being said about him. Shedeur actually had, I want to say, a decent showing as well. So I wouldn't expect Joe Flacco to start if he doesn't perform to a extremely high level, which as a 40-year-old quarterback who is on a team that I don't really think has a lot around him, I don't think it's going to happen for very long. I'd expect one of these other guys to get in there pretty soon.
Not going to disagree with you there. So I got one more real quick. So it concerns Taft High School and a left-handed pitcher, Zach Hankins, who's committed to play baseball for Mark Wasikowski, Matt Floor, and the Oregon Ducks in the upcoming season. He's a part of the 2026 graduating class, so he will not be on campus until after this year. He'll have one more year left at Taft High School, but he was named Baseball Player of the Week or a couple of weeks. He is one of the stars for Taft High School, and it kind of shows how Mark Wasikowski still keeps his eye on the talent within the state of Oregon to help out his baseball program. And so congratulations to Oregon and to Zach Hankins from Taft High School, who's committed to play baseball for the U of O. There we go. News and notes on the Danny and Justin radio program here on a Monday. Hope you all had a great weekend. When we come back, it is the sultry voice of Steve Jones, the play-by-play announcer for Penn State Nittany Lion football. Is the hype real for James Franklin's squad? We'll get the opinion of the guy who calls the game for the Nittany Lions next on the Danny and Justin radio program. Still have an opportunity to get on with the back nine here in Eugene. Their August Advantage membership discount is going on to the end of the month. Use the code August10 at checkout, and you will get 10% off your membership for life. That's right. As long as you live, you get 10% off. I don't want to say it like that. It's the August Advantage membership discount. Priority booking, tee times, 24/7 access at the Back Nine Eugene. They're down there on the Sheldon Plaza on Coburg Road right next to Safeway. Full swing technology. You work on your game, and especially with the fall coming up. Although this advantage is not going to last after August, so you've still got a couple of weeks left. August 10 is the code you type in when you get your membership. You get a discount 10% off for life at theback9eugene.com. Danny Halbel, Justin Grossweiner. It's the Danny and Justin radio program here for a Monday. Let's head on over to the Oregon Man Clinic's hotline at 541-343-5673 and welcome in our good friend. It is the voice of Penn State Nittany football and basketball. It's Steve Jones joining us all the way across the country. Not much further you can get from Eugene to State College. Steve, welcome, my friend. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. And were you suggesting by the commercial that maybe I was on the back nine of life?
No. Oh, my goodness. You are such a card. The sultry tones of Steve Jones. No, sir, you are not. Although, I was reading your bio again, and, man, you started as – so it says you were the third announcer when you started out at Penn State back in 1983, and you became the play-by-play. And so this will be your 25th year, right?
26.
26.
Yeah, 26, coming up. Which is, look. You're fortunate to do all this. Jerry's been fortunate to do all those great Oregon games. Joey's done a great job with basketball. So,
yep.
Look, you're fortunate to have these jobs. They're fun. You get to go to the games, and instead of you paying to get in, they pay you. It's real. You feel in some ways like, you don't want to say it too loud, but you feel like it's legalized stealing.
Yeah, I knew that was going to come in. You and Johnny are the same way. Our good friend Johnny Holiday and your dear friend from Maryland, he says it is kind of like stealing.
Well, I might steal more than he does. No.
All right, Steve. So I know you've been down at practices plenty, and we're now down to the nuts of it, a couple of weeks away from a kickoff for Penn State on this season. And, man, the hype is there. In a lot of polls, they are predicted as number one coming out of the gate. They're predicted to head to the national championship game. Wow, is that way out in the distance, way out in the future. And you've been doing this enough that you know that there's a lot of manholes and pitfalls that can come between the beginning of August expectations and the end of January expectations. So but I have to ask you, is this hype well-founded from what you see and all the experience and all the years you've been covering Penn State?
Look, I think everybody with Oregon knows that when you make a long run, you have to have depth. You just can't do this with 22. A lot of teams have really good starting 22s, and then once you get past, like it starts to get 23 to 32 now, it starts to get a little gnarly. Mm-hmm. To me, to negotiate a long season, let's just say 16 games, you have to have 50 guys that can play in the fourth quarter. And Penn State, in my opinion, has that. That's the starting point. Do they have 50 guys that can play in the fourth quarter and will play in the fourth quarter? Because Penn State rotates a lot of guys. If you have that, then I think you put yourself in a great position because I think you need 10 defensive backs, 6 linebackers, 5 defensive ends, 5 defensive tackles, 8 offensive linemen, 4 running backs, 7 wide receivers, 3 tight ends, and 1.5 quarterbacks because you have to have a backup that's capable of filling the breach. And I think if you have that, that's your starting point. And then from there, do you have the maturity to understand that any team can get you because you're going to be the biggest game on everybody's schedule each week. Mm-hmm. Again, something that Oregon knows very, very well. Oregon is the biggest game on everybody's schedule. So they walk into whatever stadium, whether it's Autzen or on the road, with a target. And Penn State understands that as well because they've been in that same position. You have to have the maturity to understand that on a given day, Northern Illinois can beat Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm. And one of those 1.5 quarterbacks, as you mentioned, is going to be Drew Aller. And, of course, when you think of Penn State from the outside, he's going to be one of the first guys you think of. Maybe you think of the running backs, Singleton and Katron Allen. But Drew Aller's a guy that I think from the outside perception is a little bit of a polarizing figure amongst fans. And so I'm curious from your perspective, what kind of things do you see from Drew Aller? Because you watch him every single game that people that don't see as much of him as you do won't see.
Well, after seeing Dylan Gabriel last year, what Dylan have? 190 starts, something like that. It's a big number. Drew looks like a quarterback who has 29 starts under his belt now. That makes a big difference. Now you see the field better, differently. The game is slower. I think his footwork in the pocket is exponentially better now than it was even a year ago at this time. The way he operates in the 3 to 5 foot circle. And that allows him then to buy a little time when he needs to, then find the receiver he needs. They've also upgraded the wide receiver spot, and that's big for Drew because they brought in Trevor Pena from Syracuse, Kyron Hudson from USC, and Devontae Ross from Troy. Penn State does not normally go whole hog at all on transfers. In fact, I think I only have 5 transfers in the portal last year, but 3 of them are at the wide receiver spot. And I think it's made a big difference to Drew because I think he has had an excellent preseason, and he looks like a guy who's about to make his 30th start.
And how important is that with Tyler Warren, of course, leaving to the NFL? He's getting drafted to be with the Colts. And, of course, you're going to have to bring in some other players that are going to have to fill that role.
Well, you're talking about the Swiss Army knife, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can line them up at quarterback. You can line them up at wide receiver, line them up at tight end. Maybe he can snap the ball for you and run a pattern. Oh, that's right. They did that one, too.
Yeah, they did.
They did.
All right, but that's one thing. We talk about developing depth. The depth developed over last season behind him, and that's where they're all moving up one. Khalil Dinkins is a really good all-around tight end. Excellent blocker, very good pass receiver. Luke Reynolds is an exceptional pass receiver, right, and has really improved as a blocker. And Andrew Rapplier, who was going to be the third tight end last year, ended up getting hurt early in the season, missed all of last year. He's been healthy. He's had an excellent preseason, so it's made a big difference. So they've got the 3 tight ends. They're just going to utilize that spot a bit differently than they did with Warren, except when it comes to Warren had the ability to find openings that were cleared out by wide receivers. That's basically the same thing that they can do with these tight ends. Now, they're not going to look over and say, hey, by the way, which one of you guys can snap the ball? I don't think that's going to happen. So
the sultry tones of Steve Jones, the voice of Penn State football, joining us on the Danny and Justin radio program. The Nittany Lions start out with Nevada on the 30th of August and then at home against Florida International, and also staying at home against Villanova before the Ducks come a-calling on Saturday, September 27th. So let's stay on the offensive side for a second, Steve, before we move over to the defensive side of the football. Andy Kotelnicki, when you just talked about Tyler Warren, do you think he changes his philosophy at all because of the tools that he has? Because there was a knock, and again, you saw it up front and personal, that there wasn't a whole lot of wide receiver help during the year last year for Drew Aller. And, of course, you've got the running backs coming back. You got the two-headed serpent there, and then you had Tyler Warren last year. So it was maybe Kotelnicki trying to fit the pieces for what he had last year. So do you think he changes his philosophy or opens up the offense a little bit more this season?
You go with the guys you trust, and you mentioned the wide receivers. When they played Notre Dame, and this goes down to like the last play of the game, they said they had no catches from the wideouts in the entire game, none. So you have to go with what works. And because he has more at the wide receiver spot, he can be more creative with them as opposed to last year. And I think that makes a big difference. Now, this will be something that we'll see develop as the season goes. They have to. I really like what I'm seeing in practice. Not a little, but a lot.
Wow.
But it has to happen in games,
sure,
Danny. It's got to happen in games. And the fans aren't going to believe it until they see it in a game as well. So they have to be able to put some stuff down on tape that the opposition says, okay, you know what, they're a different animal at wide receiver now. And starting with Nevada, that's where they have to start doing that so that people understand that they are a threat. Until they do that, people will be skeptical about what they can and can't do.
James Franklin in his 12th year at Happy Valley, but the biggest news on the defensive side of the football is probably the defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, coming over from Ohio State. So what imprint have you seen from Coach Knowles on this defense and some pieces that they've got coming back, which are fairly important?
Intricate, and I also think that he does a few things that are more complicated defensively, and you can see that. I think this is in the current environment we're in, where you have more opportunity to be around, be there for, which is always a given. Everybody's now allowed to do more OTAs in the off season. So you're having more contact with them. So you're not doing as much installation once you get to the preseason. I think that's been big for Jim because now he's been able to understand his personnel and then go from there. I'll give you an example. The Eagles won the Super Bowl last year with Vic Fangio, who is a brilliant defensive coordinator. But what people forget about the Eagles season last year is that they opened up the year 2-2 and then had a bye week. After the bye week, the Eagles stopped everybody cold because Vic Fangio, because he was in his first year as the coordinator, figured out what his players could do, and just as important, figured out what they couldn't do. And after that, they got on a roll. For Jim Knowles, it's going to be the same thing in the game. What can they really do in game conditions? Then what can't they do or struggle with? And then I think you're going to see a product moving forward that should be really, really good because I think the guy's brilliant.
Defensive backfield is interesting to me. Florida transfer, Jalen Kimber comes over, A.J. Harris from Georgia. You've got Kevin Winston back there. And mixing that in with some of the kids that are coming back from last year, especially Wheatley and King Mack. So talk about that defensive backfield, that back end of the defense for what Jim Knowles wants to try and run.
Yeah, with some of those guys are now gone, like Kimber's gone. And
sorry, pardon me.
No, that's okay. I'm not here to correct you. I'm just
no. Please do because my wife does it all the time, so that's fine. I had my notes, but
don't you think during the day you need a break?
Go ahead.
But A.J. Harris and Elliott Washington, I think, are two of the better corners in the Big Ten. And for a defensive coordinator like Jim Knowles, that makes a big difference because if you can have lockdown corners, that then frees up your creativity with the other 9 players out there. So you've got Washington, you have Harris. Davian Collins is going to be one of those 50 guys that's going to play a lot in the fourth quarter of games. Darius Dixon's a freshman. It looks like he's going to be able to play. Zakee Wheatley, he is not going to sit there and wow you on the watch. We're okay, click. Okay, 40 yards later, how are we? His instincts are impeccable. That's why, and you saw that during the course of the postseason with the interceptions he had in the postseason. Wheatley's terrific. Getting King Mack to transfer back from Alabama was big. Day Lane is a guy that James Franklin has a lot of confidence in. And they've got a young kid by the name of Antoine Belgrave Shorter that they've moved in there, I think is going to play a lot for them. And then the nickel part, everybody needs nickels. Zion Tracy played it last year, and he's an outstanding athlete. And last year he had 2 interceptions, including one against Boise State. And then the other kid is Kenny Wosley. So those are the 10 guys that you're looking at that you're going to run out there as your 4 defensive backs plus your nickel. And I think that makes a big difference. And if you can have lockdown corners give a defensive coordinator creativity.
What is the general perception of Oregon? And I know you mentioned earlier that you said Oregon's going to be the biggest team on everyone's schedule. Of course, for Penn State, it might be, you might argue, Ohio State as well. But just in general, especially after the Ducks and the Nittany Lions met in the Big Ten championship game, what is the general perception of Oregon from the Penn State side now heading into this season? Of course, big game, the 4th game of the season.
Out of respect, a lot of athletes, good players. Now I want to see how Moore performs at quarterback. We know what the running back can do because, he played a lot in the Big Ten championship game. How do they replace the 2 tackles on the offensive line? That'll be big. Uyunglele is an outstanding edge guy. I think he's tremendous. Your middle linebacker, Jack Ham, and I have nothing but the highest respect for after watching him in the Big Ten title game. I've seen Dylan Tiedemann play against Penn State when he was at Purdue, and I thought he was one of the top 3 or 4 safeties in the conference to begin with. So when I look at Oregon, I see all sorts of issues you have to take care of during a game. Now the question's going to be, Tez Johnson's moved on to the NFL, and obviously the off-season injury to Evan Stewart is a big deal because now you have to replace them, and that impacts the depth. And I talk about having 7 wide receivers. Does Danny have 7 wide receivers? Especially losing a guy like Stewart that you probably counted on to be a number
Steve Jones joining us. He's the voice of Penn State football. And for us, it's one of those trough of institutional knowledge in the Big Ten that we rely on here on the Danny and Justin radio program here for a Monday in Fox Sports Eugene and Newport. So, Steve, as we wrap things up, a few more questions for you. Overall in the Big Ten, and it's kind of a new thing for still us out here on the West Coast with Oregon, Washington, UCLA, USC joining in the fray, and Oregon making that magical run to a Big Ten regular season and then conference championship game as they set down the Nittany Lions in a fantastic ball game in Indianapolis. Is the whole picture of college football, and especially the way the Big Ten inserts themselves into that or where their place is, where do you see this moving in the next couple of years? Because we're hearing all sorts of craziness. 24 teams in a football playoff, or even 16, or the 5-11 and all of that. And all that noise on the outside, you can't tell me it doesn't affect how coaches go to work and how players figure out who they're going to go play with.
Well, at least on a current team, they know the playoffs 12.
Right.
So they know how that part works. So a current team should not be affected by it. The 24 is, like that's not a new idea. That's what FCS does.
Right.
28, I mean, no offense. Do I really want the seventh place team in all due respect, they could benefit everybody, but do I want the seventh place team in the Big Ten in the playoff?
No.
No, I thought I took care of them in the regular season. So I'm not crazy about that. I'd rather go with 16 when it's all said and done, because I think at that point, you can do it in such a way where 14 have to play the first round when there are 7 games and the top 2 teams get buys, and I think it can be fun and it can be long-term. I'd rather see that. As for the expansion of the West Coast, look, if you're going to sit there and tell me that USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon are available, I don't want them going anywhere else except the Big Ten. I'm doing everything I can to make sure they're in the Big Ten and not someplace else, because the value of those 4 schools, the value of Oregon is off the charts in terms of what they bring to the table, basketball-wise with what Dane has done, football-wise with what Danny has done, track and field, everything. So there's value across the board. And, look, Penn State, Oregon's going to have to fly east. I mean, the tough part for me for the West Coast teams is simple. It's the trip home. Because the trip home's longer because of the wind. Like when Penn State goes out and plays Western teams, boom, they get in the plane. They're back in 4 hours. Yeah. Right? Because they fly straight in here. Right? So, coming in here is not an issue. When Penn State plays Rutgers, for example, they bus. Well, the bus trip's 4 hours. So what's the difference? But, right? I mean, there's no difference.
No.
Other than the fact that I hate the bus. There's nobody walking up and down on the bus saying, snacks? You cut me a break. But, it's, to me, that's the biggest problem for the West Coast teams is always the trip back, because it's like 6 hours against the wind to do something like that. And that's where they're at a major disadvantage. But I just think that moving forward, it was the right thing to do. If I'm running it and I had the opportunity to get Oregon into the Big Ten, you're darn right I want them in, because they reflect Major League, and I want Major League in here. And that's and that's for might as well make it a 56 team playoff. Let's just go for it to make sure Miami of Ohio's in.
Yeah, thank goodness you're not the college football commissioner. No, I know you're saying that sarcastically. So
yeah, I want 16. So.
Yeah, okay, that's where I was landing on. I think 16 is the right number. So Steve, we're looking forward obviously to September 27th. There's a lot of road before that game, but that'll obviously be the marquee game of that weekend. It's going to be a whiteout. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere in State College. And so while I got you here, and we're probably going to grab you on that week as well if you're going to be so gracious. So let's make sure everybody plans. Where is the one spot in State College for a visiting Oregon fan needs to go to, one restaurant go to? It could be a fast food place or a sit-down place in State College. Go.
I'll give you 2. The Field at Toff Trees, right? If you want great burgers, and so they're incredible. That's where we do the coaches show.
Okay.
Nice dining, tavern downtown. And by the way, since it's the first full weekend of fall, stop at the Creamery, which is just a short walk from Beaver Stadium. and get yourself a nice big cone.
Boy. All right. Mr. Jones, we love having you on the program. You're so gracious with your time. We appreciate you, your insight, your knowledge. And by the way, now I have those transfers in the right column on my page, on my sheet, instead of the ones I was saying that were there this past year. So I appreciate you correcting me very graciously.
Oh, no. Hey, Justin, Danny, they're always great to be with you. Danny, don't worry about that. It's no big deal. If I were to sit here and go through the mistakes I've made in the last 26 years for 5 months.
Well, I'll give you and Johnny something to chew on next time you talk about it.
That's right.
All right, buddy.
Right.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you.
Danny, Justin, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you guys.
All right, take care. There goes the great Steve Jones. Just a pleasure to talk college football with him. Man, I just tell you, these guys like him and Jerry and Johnny Holiday and Paul Keels. I mean, when you talk about
knowledge,
the legendary, and we're going to talk to others like Don Fisher and stuff from Indiana, the knowledge that they have, the institutional, and the things that they've seen in a quarter of a century. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, when we come back, we're going to hear from Tosh Lupoi, defensive coordinator for the Ducks. We'll wrap up the program here for a Monday. Big thanks once again to the voice of the Nittany Lions, Steve Jones, joining us here today. You missed it? Oh my goodness, shame on you. Well, first of all, that's fine. Not gonna wag my finger too much at you. But if you did miss it, go ahead and pod us, and you can listen back to a very entertaining and informative interview. The view from the lens of the Nittany Lions broadcaster, Steve Jones. Wherever you pod, whatever platform you're on, you can join us there. Pretty much right after the show's over with. Coming up tomorrow will be Dave Hunsaker, the voice of Oklahoma State, the Cowboys, from Stillwater, Oklahoma. You ever been to Eskimo Joe's?
I have
Stillwater?
not.
You've never been to Stillwater?
I have not.
Okay. We'll talk.
I've lived in the South, but I don't think I've ever been to Oklahoma.
We'll talk what Dave Hunsaker's favorite appetizer is at Eskimo Joe's, because I've been there and it's a fantastic little place. Walking distance from the campus of Oklahoma State. So we'll have that on the program tomorrow. All right, so let's dive into Oregon football. We heard from Steve Jones about the Oregon-Penn State matchup a little bit and what the Nittany Lions are trying to build this year for the Ducks. It's a lot of questions on the defensive side. Back end, middle, and up front. A lot of players to replace, but some key pieces coming back. Tosh Lupoi, the defensive coordinator, was caught after practice and talks about, especially now when you've got Jordan Birch gone and Hampton on the front line gone, how about the edge development and the competition?
Again, a great competition on the edges. Pleased with Ashton Porter, the way he's been competing. Nas, is different. He's got a different juice, as we know, in the recruiting, and that has stood true now. Elijah Rushing, quality guy that continues to develop. Arguably played the best in this last scrimmage, when you compare everybody in the group. So, but again, just we've been fortunate to get a lot of reps out of these guys, have a great camp, and maintain our health there, and going to continue to progress and challenge those guys.
Blake Purchase, another guy that is in that room as well, that has made some waves, especially during camp. And I think that one of the bigger question marks on this team is in the defensive line, Danny, right? That interior of the defensive line, especially where you have Bear Alexander, who's a guy that's transferring in. There's some questions about him. Obviously, he's answered a lot of those so far here in this program. And then Amari Washington is a guy that there's a lot of intrigue about, right, because of his body type and the things that he can do.
There's plenty of unknowns, which, again, are going to get flushed out. I think the questions on the defensive line were kind of like what we had going into the season on the offensive line last year for the Ducks.
So here's Tosh Lupoi talking about this interior of the defensive line.
Yeah, Amari, gifted individual. Really cool to see his progression with his fundamentals and technique. The challenge to him is just constantly challenge him of how important it is to, at his weight, is his conditioning, and that'll be critical for his success, this year and in his future. So right now, if he continues the trend that he's on, he's a special player. And then just an awesome competition to see develop here. I mean, you got Tion Gray, you mentioned Bear Alexander, you got Terrence Green, Jericho Johnson has came on really strong, had arguably one of the best springs, and had a minor setback. So missed some reps with a minor setback. But another guy that's just, these guys are pushing each other. But we got to grow, and there's no secret to that, so it's excited. We're challenging those guys every day. You have an absence of 3 NFL players, that left in the first 3 rounds. So that's an awesome competition to see unfold. And similar to that corner room, I see that being a reset every week, that who run out there first, and just constant competition and who can help us in each specific package, mastering their role and bringing that to the table.
And on the back end of that defense, you heard Steve Jones actually mention him. Dylan Thieneman, the transfer from Purdue, is going to be anchoring the back end of the defense. But with the injury a little less than a week ago, Trey McNutt, who's going to be out indefinitely for the Ducks, that kind of hurt them, set them back. A lot of youth trying to blend in with some of the older guys for the back end of that defense for the Ducks.
Well, I think it's going to put even more pressure on Thieneman as well. So what does Tosh Lupoi think about him as a player and as a leader as well?
Dylan's impressive, thankful to have him. He's a lead by action individual, but he's a detailed individual. So he's the essence of attacking details. And if something is unclear or perhaps I haven't coached it well enough or whatever it is, he's going to ask, whether he's calling you, texting you, or ask you after practice or in between a drill, or and I love that about him. So, he's coming on strong here, and once again, some great young players pushing, and we've done a lot of dual training, in that room. Coach Hampton has done an awesome job with those guys, and Coach Boyd, and from playing our nickel position, what we call the star, boundary safety, field safety, and then even some stuff with our dime and corner, even rotating through that room, and that's a special thing when you can do that. So really cool to move those guys around and challenge them there. And he's one of those guys that's been dual trained in multiple positions.
Oregon defensive coordinator Tosh Lupoi on the Danny and Justin radio program. You're going to hear, I think, these names as well as we roll throughout the season, Justin. Kingston Lopa, Peyton Woodyard, Aaron Flowers. They're all going to have to – there are players that are going to have to step up in different roles.
Yeah, that other safety spot is definitely more of an open door than I think Dylan Thieneman is, who is certainly a guy that, like he just mentioned, he's going to be playing a lot of different positions in a lot of different spots for this Oregon defense.
So it's going to be a defense in flux for the first few weekends of the season. So, again, I think where Oregon was preaching patience on the offensive line for the first few games of last year, they might be preaching that on the defensive side of the football as these players find their roles.
Oh, a joke!
I got fired from the bank today. A woman asked me to check her balance, so I pushed her.
Dad jokes!
Justin?
Danny?
There's a broken guitar for sale.
Uh-oh.
No strings attached.
Ah, that's always good.
Yeah, if it's broken, there are no strings. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, somehow that's not good, actually. I don't know. I thought it was good for a second. No, I know it's not good.
Once again, our thanks to Steve Jones, the voice of Penn State football. You missed it, go back to the pod, listen back to it there, wherever you pod, like an Odyssey, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, the RSS.com community. Tomorrow on the program, Dave Hunsaker. Wednesday, it'll be Brian Jensen from Texas Tech. Thursday and Friday, hoping, and we're going to try and also squeeze Jared Mack in the next couple of days as well. So stay tuned. Thanks for listening, friends, wherever and however. We'll be back again with the fastest 60 minutes tomorrow at 2 p.m. For Baby J, I'm Danny. Put a smile on your face. Someone else's. They deserve it. So do you. God bless. Peace.